Hiya, and these are my fingerprints, individual marks that only define me. Similar to a zebra stripes or a leopard spots, these marks don't repeat. Not even two of my fingerprints could be the same. This all has to do with forensic science, but specifically, it has to do with dermatoglyphics, which is the specific science that studies ridges, lines, and shapes in the mounts of your hands, including fingerprints, palm prints, and toe prints. So how are fingerprints formed?
The answer, the dermapapilla. This is the boundary between the outer skin, the epidermis, and the inner skin, the dermis.
As you can see in this photo right here, we have the dermis, the epidermis, and then that layer in between. That layer in between is where the dermapapilla are, and this is the wavy pattern created that creates our fingerprints. I'm sure you've heard of loops, whorls, and arches. These are level 1 characterizations of fingerprints. Level 2 is fingerprint individualization. For example, in this picture right here, we can see all the different markings that make your fingerprints unique. Level 2 identification is enough to link a person to a crime. So when we take a look at a fingerprint like this one right here, we can look for all the characteristics in. So let's zoom up.
In number 1, we can see a spur. This is when one of the ridges shoots off. In number 2, we can see a ridge ending. This is one of them comes to an end. In number 3, we can see a dot or an island. This is when one of the ridges isn't connected to any other point. In number 4, to the side of it, we can see a bifurcation. This is when one of the ridges becomes 2 different ridges. In number 5, we can see an enclosure. This is when one ridge opens up, closes back up, and leaves one part without any sort of ridge on it.
This is a dot, one of the parts of the fingerprint. And this is something that we look for, which is different than a sweat pore. Level 3, we look at sweat pores. Each ridge contains pores that are connected to sweat glands underneath the skin. The specific location of these pores are unique to each person and can be used for identification. Fingerprints are completely formed when you're 24 weeks in utero. This means you have your fingerprints that you're going to have for the rest of your life, 3 months before you're even born.
When looking for fingerprints, we use the ACE-V method. The 4 steps of the ACE-V method are analyze, comparison, evaluation, and verification.
Now let's get into the 3 kinds of fingerprints we see on crime scenes: latent fingerprints, plastic fingerprints, and visible fingerprints. Visible fingerprints can be seen with the naked eye. Plastic fingerprints that can be seen by the naked eye too, but their actual is a ridged imprintation of the fingerprint. Latent fingerprints cannot be seen by the naked eye. They're made by impression caused by the transfer of body oils, perspiration, sweat, and fingerprint ridges left on the surface of an object. Fingerprint powders are one thing we can use to preserve latent fingerprints. This powder adheres to the perspiration and oils left in our hands. Iodine fuming is the oldest method for developing latent fingerprints. Iodine is a solid crystal that when heated up is transformed into a gas through sublimation. Materials placed in an iodine chamber and heated up with latent prints can be revealed. The next method is superglue fuming. The active ingredient is cyanoacrylate, which is heated up in a chamber and makes the latent prints appear white.
So many other methods that we don't have time to get to.
Well, I hope you had fun learning about fingerprints with me. The small things on your fingers make such a big difference in court cases, helping identify victims and linking criminals to crime scenes.
Bye.